Now, rocket attacks aimed at Tel Aviv and now Jerusalem. Israeli tanks being moved towards the border as its airstrikes continue over Gaza. The simmering tension across the Middle East moves ever closer towards boiling point. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, is in Gaza tonight. Alex.
Yes, Israel's vast arsenal bears down on Gaza tonight by land, air and sea. A sense that time is running out, therefore intense diplomatic activity. The Egyptians here today talking about a truce didn't happen. The Arab League expected perhaps over the weekend, possibly even Ban Ki-moon, the UN boss, in the coming days. But all the while the Israeli build-up is there. The government being asked in Israel tonight to consider a call-up of 75,000 reservists. All the signs are that a ground invasion is in place and ready to go. Tonight, steady shelling and pounding of Gaza, but also, it has to be said, rockets still being fired out of Gaza, into Egypt and into Israel and deep into Israel. By chance, we were the last people into Gaza tonight. The Israelis slammed the door behind us, and ahead, the terrifying 15-minute drive. Few travel in the countryside here after dark for obvious reasons. When you finally hit built-up areas, there are at least signs of life and other vehicles on the road. Israel's bombardment of Gaza was unrelenting overnight. Around 150 airstrikes. This morning, that bombing continued. The home of a senior Hamas commander was destroyed, and what was once Gaza's interior ministry is now a pile of rubble. The Israeli Defense Force released video which it claimed showed a missile striking a rocket launcher hidden underground. Israel says it is targeting weapon sites and stores, but the civilian death toll inevitably is rising. 23 Palestinians reported killed in the last 2 days. 5 of them were children. But Israel has seen some incoming rockets too, 120 counted, flying in from Gaza today. Though Israel's death toll has not risen beyond the 3 killed yesterday. Israel's defense shield, which they call Iron Dome, has stopped, they say, most, though not all, of the incoming rockets. Sirens sounded not just in Tel Aviv, but for the first time as far away as Jerusalem. One rocket falling in a suburb 20 kilometers from the holy city. And so the ceasefire Israel had offered during a fleeting visit to Gaza by Egypt's Prime Minister Hashem Khandil never took hold. Mr. Khandil spent 3 hours in Gaza, treading a fine line, offering outspoken Arab support for Palestinians, yet Egypt is also trying to broker a truce here as well.
Egypt will make every effort and make sacrifices to stop this aggression and to achieve a truce and ensure that it continues.
Throughout the day, Israeli tanks and bulldozers have been massing near the Gaza border. 16,000 reservists have been called up. Israel says preparations for a ground invasion are now complete, though as far as we know, Israel's Prime Minister has not pressed the green button yet.
We are, of course, responding strongly to the launch of rockets against central Israel and southern Israel, and we are prepared, if needed, to broaden the operation in a significant way.
So if today was supposed to be a lull in the fighting, whilst the Egyptian politicians were in Gaza, it bodes ill for what tomorrow may bring.
Alex, having got in there and spent a few hours, how does it feel? What's the atmosphere?
Well, I think an enormous sense of foreboding, frankly. I mean, the Egyptians were here today, and this was supposed to be a day of lull, don't forget. Well, we learned tonight several people killed in the area. You can probably see the bright lights behind me in that area immediately close to the building I'm standing in. That's just the latest of these salvos of rockets and shells being fired in by land, air and sea. So I think there's a great sense of foreboding about what will happen. Quite whether Israel is able and willing to mount the kind of incursion and frankly full-scale invasion and pulverization of Gaza that happened some years ago is open to question. The world's a different place. We've had the Arab Spring. Countries surrounding Israel, Egypt, are in a very different place now to the way they were then. But frankly, the only people who can really put any kind of brake on this are the Americans. You're not seeing the same kind of pressure from them, for example, as you'd see from other players in the region, very obviously.
Alex Thompson in Gaza.